Line up the middle of the road and idle through these ones. This is a bit deeper, definitely. And see, a bit just broke away underneath me there. Of course, as the flows get deeper, they get faster, and then you've got the old flotation problem.
In Perth, Western Australia, Outback legend Steve Grahame is gearing up for another mammoth mission.
The road's open. It's officially the wet season now.
He's heading for the remote community of Columbaroo in Australia's tropical north. On board his road train, urgently needed building materials. With the wet season about to break, Steve's not taking any chances.
I haven't had my old shovel on board all year, but I got my shovel here and I got my chain, so I should be right. This load's good to go. We'll get on with it. It's the start of another trip, and hopefully this rain down here indicates that there's no rain up there. I can't believe I'm always going on about the weather, but plays hell with my life.
Heading north at this time of year is a big risk, even for this veteran trucker.
There's been some rain up there already on that Columbaroo road. When you look at the sky on a morning like this morning and you think about this trip and the time of the year, you do get a sense of deja vu.
Steve has a right to be concerned. He's heading for the same stretch of track that last year saw him bogged for 6 whole weeks.
Part of my business is based on that commitment to delivery no matter where you are. You've got to make a living and you can't not go because it might rain. The worst it could get is my gear is trapped in there for the wet season. There is my personal income done and dusted for the next 5 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to get it out.
To make it to Columbaroo, it's a 5-day haul. And the further north he goes, the storm clouds keep building.
We've turned onto the Gibb River Road, and there's a classical wet season build-up cloud. We're heading straight into them now, and we'll get rain up here somewhere, without a doubt. Looks like we haven't got steak for tea tonight. Not fresh steak anyway. And here it is. This is just the first shower. This is the first shower for down here. I did not need to be turning my wipers on just yet. It's all very well to be prepared for it, and it's all very well to know that it's probably going to happen. But when it hits you in the face like that, it just brings it home like a smack.
Riding solo on these dirt roads is too risky. Old mate Steve Grahame will join the battle, which could be closer than they think.
I don't like the sound of that thunder at all.
They know that if weather turns bad, so will the road.
We had rain last night, which is, it's worrying, it's scary, this weather. It's like it's going to rain for a couple of days. I don't like it at all.
Steve's load of building materials is light. To stabilise his truck, he's hauling his mate's load of heavy concrete. It's Steve's last trip before the torrential rain is due, but the wet's already giving him headaches.
There was enough rain so that the clay will have us slipping and sliding and losing traction. I don't like this one little bit.
After the mud, another problem. Deep corrugations, slowing Steve to walking pace.
There's about 5 kilometres of this stretch that I'll do at this speed, which is 4 kilometres an hour.
On a road this rough, the load takes a constant hammering.
Oh, I can see a strap's broken or come loose back there on that bloody steel.
But the biggest test is the long, steep hills or jump-ups. Taking on these means fighting gravity and the dirt in a 100-ton truck. For extra power, the two Steves hook both rigs together. But even with 2 trucks, it's going to be a brutal climb.
This is our nemesis. This is the theta jump up. Every truckie hates it.
When you're ready.
Coming off the clutch now, coming off now, and we're off. Now I've got to stay very focused for this hill, and I'm going to wind down my window just so I pick up any wheel traction. Just don't want to break anything here.
Steve's now got 5 fully loaded trailers behind him. Both trucks must keep momentum. One lapse in concentration and they could lose traction and grind to a shuddering halt.
Just a touch more, mate.
Even with the grunt of a second truck behind, he's barely crawling. It's a difficult manoeuvre, even for 2 veteran truckers.
He's a good man on the end of the bar back there. He knows what he's doing. If you have a bloke on the bar behind you that gives too many revs or not enough, he makes your life miserable.
But with precision teamwork,
Right, we're over that hill.
Steve's conquered this notorious jump up and saved precious time.
I'm always relieved when I get that one out of the way.
While he's over one big hurdle, the road ahead is full of bad memories.
As I come around the bend is where my trailers and dollies sank out of sight. Right here.
This was the scene of Steve's worst nightmare. This time, he's in luck.
Now, I'm glad I'm over that little spot. It took me nearly 3 weeks to get from theatre to this spot, and I've just done it this morning in about 3 hours. I'll be bloody glad to get in and get out.
After a mammoth 3,000 kilometres, Steve's finally made it to Columbaroo.
It's a sense of achievement every time you roll in the gate.
But his work is far from done. Tomorrow, he must turn around and do it all again.
And get out of here and beat that rain and get off this bloody road.
But storm clouds are building. Steve needs to unload and get out fast.
And I'm reloading these bits and pieces all around town. Excavator attachments there, cable roller there, container here.
If the heavens open, the road out will close, and Steve's livelihood would be reined in for months.
Everyone all over town is throwing stuff at us to try and get it out before the rain comes. We're working out the weights and we're putting all this stuff on the road trains, and we'll get it all together today, tomorrow sometime, and go. Doesn't matter.
Squeezing the freight onto his truck is a superhuman feat.
Steve Grahame, the Houdini of freight, to make that fit.
You know, it was tight, but it fits.
There's a tough journey ahead. Steve's bracing for the worst.
We're expecting more rain before we get out, and we know we're going to have trouble on those jump-ups.
To beat the dreaded jump-ups, Steve's called in even more horsepower.
We've got another road train coming in. We've got Stewie coming in. We will go out the 3 trucks together. Some of those jump-ups on the reverse side are worse than the forward side coming in.
And if 3 truck engines aren't enough...
I have got a secret weapon. I've got an excavator to take out, and that's part of the reason I'm here at this time of the year, because that will be our saver if we get caught on the way out. The day is eroding. I can see build-up. There's clouds coming up over those hills over there right now.
With rough roads, jump-ups and bad weather, Steve's taking on everything the Outback can throw at him. Steve Grahame's convoy...
Righto, fellas, we'll go.
...is fully loaded and ready to head south.
The 3 road trains going out together, we're putting aside our independence and going out as a group so that we can help each other through the bad stuff.
Not far out of Columbaroo, he faces another old foe.
That jump up there doesn't look much from here, but believe me, from bitter experience, that is a real handful. This is where we're going to hook the three road trains together. If we didn't have the bars, we'd be pulling these trailers over. We'd pull one trailer over, come back and get the other one. There's 8 trailers or something here. It'd be half a day's work getting these 3 road trains over here. And we'll do it in half an hour. Touch wood.
With all 3 trucks hooked up, Steve's at the helm of a massive 140-metre road train.
Right, and we all got our diff locks in?
Yeah, when you're ready.
Coming off the clutch now, coming off now, and we're off.
1,600 horsepower of muscle must pull the 300-ton convoy.
Right, I'm getting a bit of wheel spin, fellas. Have a tiny bit more, Steve.
Steve's at the top, but there's still 200 tons of road train lagging behind. Suddenly, the tow bar connecting the third truck has snapped.
Broke the ring on one of the tow bar things, yeah.
A steep jump up is a dangerous place to get stranded.
This is a serious business and this is what can happen, and we're going to have to get moving because he's got air holding brakes on that hill.
The only hope now is a much weaker length of chain.
Righto, we'll give it another go. Coming off the clutch now, coming off, and we're into it.
While the convoy's over the jump up, the Bishop's boat has slipped.
Stewie's got a problem with the Bishop's boat, so we all best fix it or Stewie will go to hell.
It's all hands on deck.
Lift and push backwards, a 1, a 2, and a 3.
And again.
A 1, a 2, and a 3. Look at that. We're going to lift that back in, get those wheels back under this hull here.
Yeah, we're hanging off it. Nothing much is happening.
There's not enough muscle to secure the boat. It's a job for Steve's secret weapon.
Keep it going, keep it going. That's it. We should bring a secret weapon every trip.
This job has cost valuable time.
And the weather's building. We got build-up happening.
And last night's heavy rain has left the ground saturated.
Coming off, let's go. Stewie, come back with that chain, will you?
Getting bogged here is the last thing Steve needs.
Get the other truck to come back over the hill, we'll put a chain on. All right, we'll give it a go. Let's go, fellas, let's go. Just idle away like this now, that's nice and cool.
At last, Steve can breathe a sigh of relief. And it's time to say goodbye to his mates.
And we're going to go our separate ways at this point in time.
It's been another epic journey by the 67-year-old legend who just keeps on outback trucking.
You know, I can't see myself taking on other forms of trucking at this late stage of life. I'm quite happy doing bushwork. So this is a pretty good office when things are going along all right. It's not a bad view. The point is, it is outback trucking and shit happens.
Steve knows the outback like no other. But on this trip, he's heading into the unknown.
You always get a bit nervous when you're doing something new. I don't care how old you are.
His destination is in Australia's far north, at the end of a run most truckers wouldn't dare face. Arnhem Land is Australia's final frontier. It's home to some of the most remote communities and the most unforgiving dirt roads in the country.
It'll have its challenges. It'll have challenges and it'll be new to me because it's new country. It's a new road, which is a mongrel of a road. It's a barge at the other end.
He'll have to load his 50-ton road train onto a barge.
The problem with this bloody barging is tides. It's out of your control, you know, and no one wants to pay to hang around for 13 days for the next tide.
Steve's got one shot at catching the barge, and if he doesn't deliver, he doesn't get paid. On board his truck, $350,000 worth of solar equipment. It'll give the two isolated communities power 24/7 for the first time. First, Steve has to load the 40-foot containers onto his hired trailer using its inbuilt crane. Sounds simple.
Shut out, doesn't like it.
But only if the crane works.
No.
The fragile freight's going nowhere.
Have you blokes got a battery anywhere here? I'm trying to restart it. We've got a flat battery here, so we'll just put some jumper leads on it. And it's still showing a fault. I don't think it's the battery, mate.
If Steve can't fix the problem fast, he risks missing the tide and barge. He'll have to call the hire company for help.
God. We've found a blown fuse in here, so if it's a bloody blown fuse, I'll be annoyed.
He should have been on the road hours ago, and a life-changing mission for 2 remote communities is at stake.
Something as tiny as a little 20-cent, 20-amp fuse could maybe be holding up 4,500 kilometres, catch a barge, all of that, the millions of dollars associated with this whole bloody job. Let's try a fuse, mate.
The whole trip rests on a simple replacement fuse.
That's a relief.
There you go.
At last, the precious solar equipment can be loaded.
One 20-cent fuse. Nearly cost us millions.
Steve's marathon run can finally get underway.
We'll just ride with that. It's all going to go smoothly from now.
Ahead are 2,000 kilometres of bitumen through the vast Western Australian desert. But the further north Steve goes, the hotter it gets. 100 k's out of Broome, the temperature's pushing 40 degrees, and Steve's feeling the heat.
We had a mongrel day yesterday. The air conditioner had gone in this truck, and I'm going to go and get it fixed. I'm not going to do the next 3 days without an aircon.
Steve's hoping the job should be a quick fix. But there's bad news from the mechanic.
After replacing the compressor, there was still a leak in this unit. So now the boys are welding it up. It's always nerve-wracking, and time is just running away from me.
Time to get the mechanic's verdict.
At the moment, its holding pressure hasn't dropped at all.
Right, this truck's good to go. It's time to make a mile. I'm glad I got that repair done. That's good, but it also cost time. It cost me a good half a day. It's nearly 1 o'clock now.
While he's back on the road, Steve knows any more delays could break him.
I can't ring up and say I'm going to be half a day late because there's a tide.
And soon he'll hit the dirt, where his speed will drop to keep his fragile load safe. This remote wilderness is Arnhem Land. Out here, the roads are as tough as they come. Steve's beaten most of Australia's roughest runs, but he's never dared take on the road ahead.
Today's the day I want to break the back of that run out the Arnhem Highway. I want to get most of this job done.
Now he's about to head into the unknown with hired gear he doesn't trust.
That engine under there does worry me. To me, that's a very exposed little engine. I hope there's not very many rocks on this road. If they start flicking up, I'll be keeping an eye on that. That's critical. I can't get these containers off without that.
If he damages the trailer's engine, Steve could be stuck in the middle of nowhere with freight he can't unload.
My worries now is how good or bad that road is. There's the dirt. We've hit the dirt.
As he leaves the bitumen behind, Steve's on high alert.
This next 400 kilometres, I'll be looking at new country.
But soon, he's met by a familiar foe.
Welcome to my old mates, the corrugations.
The corrugations are giving the truck a beating.
They're doing damage to your trailers, your running gear. They're doing damage to your freight. If this keeps up, I'll have to poke along even more slowly, like walking pace.
Steve knows the barge won't wait. If he goes too slow, he could miss it. Too fast, and he could damage his precious freight. And ahead is another hazard.
We're at the Goyder River. Just about to get the Goyder River crossing done.
To get through the river, Steve will risk more than just his truck. But first, he needs to check the load. Under the hire trailer, Steve's worst fears are confirmed.
Now, I've got a serious problem here.
The crane's engine has taken a huge hit.
The spare tyre carrier's fallen to bits. It's dropped back. The tyre's obviously bounced up. It smashed the return line to the hydraulics and it's busted off the air intake under here.
With the crane's hydraulics smashed, Steve has no way to unload his vital freight. The damage bill could cost thousands. But worse still, the barge is over 400 kilometres away. And Steve's alone, deep in the vast, untamed wilderness of Arnhem Land.
I'm pissed off about this. I allowed time for drama, but what really worries me with this is I'm here to deliver these containers. This is a mechanical... This could be a mechanical failure that I really didn't want.
With daylight fading, a temporary fix is his only hope.
I'm just sealing this stuff up so it won't get any dirt in it. I didn't think its own tyre was going to come back and hit it. It's the worst possible, absolutely worst nightmare that could ever happen because it's going on a barge to an island, one of the most remote places in Australia.
By the time Steve's made repairs, it's night. Now he'll face the river, driving near blind.
I don't know if there's saltwater crocs in this river or not. There probably is. I'll take it for granted that there are. You don't want to be stuck there spinning your wheels.
Lose traction now, and he'll be stranded in the midst of dangerous waters.
I'm not enjoying this at all.
He's through, and one step closer to getting help for his damaged trailer.
I had camp tonight and I'll get up very early and I'll start idling in. Well, I've had a lousy night's sleep. Not much at all worrying about this. Everything rests on this thing working. This is a nightmare, and I've got to get on with it now.
If he can't get the crane engine fixed in time, Steve will miss the barge, leaving a community without solar power, and the roads making it painfully slow going.
I'll probably only go 5 kilometres now, maybe less. I'll just see how the road feels.
Every few kilometres, he must stop to check his temporary fix is holding. With the high tide just hours away, it's the last thing Steve needs. But ahead, there's a glimmer of hope.
Well, I'm hit some bitumen, so I reckon I'm about 20 or 30k out of town. Find somewhere to set myself up and start fixing this bloody engine.
Now, the whole job hangs on whether Steve can find a mechanic. Out here, it won't be easy. But at last, Steve's caught a break.
I've got onto a fella, a mechanic by the name of Brad. He's going to come and have a look at this.
If he's to make the barge, the repair needs to be done here and now.
Now, what's happened is, this tyre rack's gone here.
The engine mounts are gone, and the hydraulic lines have been ripped out. But the biggest casualty is the air filter.
That's yep.
It's a complex repair job, but with no time, Brad must improvise, giving it all in punishing heat.
It's lost maybe 80 litres of hydraulic fluid, so we'll pump the hydraulic fluid in it.
This is the last drum of Brad's oil. This is the last drum of oil in town. Go and hit the starter and see what happens.
The engine's running, but it's far from fixed.
It's like the alternator sees, Steve.
Oh, yeah, might have got full of dust and shit, mate.
It's jammed.
Steve's hopes of making the barge are fading fast.
The actual cooling fan now is jammed in the radiator housing.
To make the fan blades spin, they'll have to be trimmed by taking to the engine with an electric saw. It's a painful sight, but it's Steve's last throw of the dice.
It's not pretty, but it'll have to do.
You good to go?
Yep.
Going.
The engine's running. But will the crane work?
Righto, mate, I can't see anything. Just tell me what's happening.
Yep, we're good. Good result. We seem to be back together and, yeah, away we go.
That's a relief. That's an absolute relief.
Thanks to Brad's bush skills, Steve's back in business.
Pleasure meeting
Very
you.
good.
Pleasure doing
Yeah.
the job.
Now he needs to make that all-important barge. With high tide less than an hour away, it's a final dash to the dock. After 4,500 grueling kilometres, Steve's made it, and just in time. But his troubles are far from over.
I'm going to have to try and put the thing on this dirt ramp.
To board the barge, Steve will have to drive his 50-ton road train off an unstable mound of dirt. And that's if the barge can make it to shore.
Well, the barge hit the deck about 3 metres short. So what they're going to do is they're going to go out, they're going to pump more ballast out of the front so they can lift the front up.
The water's too shallow for the barge to get in close.
And then they're going to ram her in, they're going to try and jam her into the mud. They can make a bridge and I can get on the thing.
All eyes are on the skipper.
No, too short. And they can't get in close enough. And we've only got about half an hour before we're at absolute high tide. So they've got half an hour to get it in. They're pumping like mad. You can see all that water pouring out the side of the boat. All I've got to do is just wait patiently. At the minute, it's not my shot yet, but I wouldn't like to be the skipper on that. He's got to get the thing in. And she does look a lot lighter on the front, by gee. They've pumped out a fair bit of water.
There's time for one last all-or-nothing charge.
And she's coming in quick, by gee. She's going in good. We're going to get her, I think. Amazing. Right, I've got to start thinking about getting serious about my job.
While the barge has made land, now the tide's turning. It must leave quickly or run aground. Steve will only get one shot at driving on board. To hold the barge in place, the skipper pushes his engines to full power. The smallest error from him or Steve could land his truck in deep water.
We just got on just in time to catch this tide. ETA Elko Island sometime tonight, 9 or 10 o'clock.
By nightfall, Steve's close. As skipper Adam knows, the next hazard will be unloading the huge truck onto an isolated strip of beach in the pitch black.
4.4 metres, the actual ramp goes underwater and you can be swept off the ramp there as well. I haven't done a truck this size here before. If we don't have a good angle on it, we're going to have a hard time getting this truck off.
The next high tide isn't for days. If Steve's to make it off the barge, it must be tonight.
It's 40 minutes to the barge landing. Now I start to get nervous. The skipper did come down earlier and say he couldn't get a wink of sleep because he was worried about this landing, and that put me off tee.
One slip and he could bog or damage the truck. Worse still, it could tip into the sea. Then, in the distance, there's a sign of life.
That fire on the beach is them waiting for the barge to come in. They're hoping we can get all this stuff off tonight. So am I.
He's come nearly 5,000 kilometres to get here. Now, the fate of Steve's journey lies behind the barge's ramp.
Too much angle. Fuck it.
Slowly, the ramp lowers.
Oh, not bad, not bad. Not bad. I think we'll get her there, mate.
Yeah, it's good, eh? It's really
Yep.
good.
We got luck here, I think, Jimmy.
The angle may be good, but now Steve will have to reverse his 20-metre long truck off the narrow barge. Blind. If he clips the ramp, he could damage a $100,000 crane trailer he's hired just for this job. Every inch could bring disaster.
How am I looking on that engine, mate?
Until
Righto, this truck's off the barge. I've got a huge sense of relief. Tomorrow morning I'll unload this, and tomorrow's another day, so we'll sort it out then.
at dawn, Steve's still worried about the fragile crane trailer. If it won't fire up at the end of his journey, Steve will have no way of unloading his vital freight.
I've got about 60 kilometres to go to delivery, and they told me it's a really badly corrugated road. I cannot relax till I get in there and have that thing in one piece to lift this off. I just cannot relax. It's as simple as that.
All Steve can do is push on, down the only main road on the island. And by the roadside, there's grim warnings. This tiny jungle track is a truck killer.
I'm going to drive very, very slowly if it takes me all day to deliver my freight. And this is how the day will go. I will just idle along. At least the scenery's pretty.
Faced with deep corrugations, Steve's reduced to a crawl to protect his rig.
I've only come 12.5 kilometres. It could be anything to deal with yet. The next 40k. My mind's constantly worried about that bloody engine hanging under that trailer. That's what I'm thinking about.
It's painfully slow going, but there's worse to come.
This is soft, gutless sand through here. A little bit scary, this stuff.
If Steve loses traction now, his truck will sink in deep, while the struggle could rip the guts out of his fragile crane trailer.
That's what will break this thing in half.
Steve's worst fears are confirmed. An ocean away from help, he's stuck fast. Getting out of a deep sand bog won't be easy.
I'm not going to let my tyres down another 20 pounds. If I can't get myself out of here with the tyres down at 20 pounds, I need some serious help here. It's starting to get to be a hard day's work at the office today, I think.
To add to his woes, Steve's blocking the only main route in this remote wilderness. And it's rush hour, desert island style.
Yeah, go on, mate, sorry. So I'll get my tyres down, I'll try and get moving. Try and get out of the way, mate. Kids want a bit of chicken? Good chicken.
The temperature's into the high 30s with 90% humidity. It's grueling work, but Steve will have to deflate every one of his 22 tyres, while the locals make their own escape plans. But Steve's not going anywhere soon, and behind him, a tropical traffic jam is starting to build up. The last thing Steve wants is to cause problems for the people he's come to help. But the deep sand is hard work for a 4x4, let alone a 40-tonne truck. Finally, Steve's ready. The finish line is just 20 kilometres away. He's a long way from home, but this Outback trucker's not beaten yet.
Dropping the tyres to 20 pound worked. It got me out of that bog hole back there. I was worried that whether it would or wouldn't, but it did.
There's just 20 kilometres to go to Steve's destination, but the road's fighting him for every metre.
This jungle is getting to be a bit of a nightmare with scratching the truck and the paintwork as old as what it is.
To protect his damaged crane trailer, Steve's barely managing walking pace.
I've been at it now 7 hours for just on 40 kilometres. I'm still worried about that engine. I'd like to think I'll get it over the line the last 8 or 10 Ks and get this unit off.
At last, there's signs of civilization.
So I'm nearly there.
After carving his way through the jungle, he's made it to the drop-off. But it's just not Steve's day.
I'm not going to get around here in a fit. Geez, I don't want to twist up that frame with that engine too much, you know. I can back and come across here. I'll do it, mate. Just watch me at the front, and if I'm going to hit a tree or something, just stop me.
After 4,800 hard kilometres, even the last 10 metres are a battle. Finally, Steve's ready to unload the vital solar power equipment.
And now comes the moment of truth. I'm going to give it the big test.
Now the whole job rests on his patched-up crane trailer. Since almost being destroyed, it's been dragged across the sea and through a jungle.
And now comes the moment of truth. That'll do me. That's bloody good news. I'll get this on the ground and half this job done.
After 4,800 kilometres, at last, Steve can unload the precious solar power equipment.
We are all unhooked up there. My next little moment is what these things look inside. And that all looks good. That all looks good. You happy, Errol? Yep. If Errol's happy, I'm happy. Well, that's an absolute relief. I've had a lot of sleepless nights over this.
But Steve's work is far from done.
I've just got to get out of here and go and do the other one.
Back on the mainland, he still has a second container to deliver to the remote community of Ninikay. And from out of nowhere comes a hammer blow.
They've just told me I can't get in by road. Road access is impossible.
There's only one way to get Steve's truck into Ninikay, another barge. And to make things even tougher, Steve will have to race 300 kilometres through the outback to catch it.
The barge can't fit me in its schedule unless I chase it by land.
It's the last news Steve needed to hear.
It's going to do my head in trying to think about Ninikay. I don't even give a
To reach Ninikay, it's a 250-kilometre sprint through the outback, followed by a 60-kilometre trip out to sea.
We've gone more than outback trucking now, we've gone outback bloody boating.
The tiny community of barely 20 people is relying on Steve alone to get the job done.
I'm delivering by myself. There's basically no one at this job.
Dawn, and Steve's mad dash has paid off. He's reached a makeshift dock on the banks of the Buckingham River. Next, he'll have to load his 30-ton truck onto the barge. It's a dangerous operation.
We're loading on a mud bank on the side of a river. Plenty of crocodiles down there, so I've got to keep my eyes open. That's not a bad landing.
While the landing looks good, there's a problem.
We're a little bit worried that when I start to push this trailer up, it might push the barge back. I have pushed a barge off a ramp once before.
It's a major concern for Steve and barge skipper Ben.
Mate, just so long as she stays there when I reverse down onto that ramp, that's my big worry.
Don't want to get any further back.
Yep.
And then we will have problems.
Ben must push his barge into shore to hold it steady, while Steve reverses his truck on board.
Looks like it's my go now.
It's a huge test of skill, even for the best.
That gap I've got to put my trailer in is 2,700 millimetres. My trailer's 2,500 and a bit.
He has only millimetres to spare. But Steve's on. He knows only too well how close he was to disaster.
I was shitting myself, especially when she hit this. I thought she was going to push her off. I thought, hello, here we go. Those two crocodiles didn't get us for breakfast this morning anyway.
While Steve stayed off the menu, now Ben may have bitten off more than he can chew. He's pushed his barge right onto the riverbank.
We need to get off now.
He's struggling to get clear.
Oh, he's got to give us some power.
Ben's working his engines hard, but still he's stuck fast. The tide's turning. If Ben can't cast off now, his barge and Steve's whole mission will run aground.
Can't get off, we lose another tide, and it really makes it hard for time. He's going to get her. Maybe not. Yep, he's got her. That's bloody good to see. Good on you, skipper.
The next stop is 60 kilometres away, at the remote community of Ninyike. But for Ben, he's entering unknown territory.
I've never been to this place. The last mile and a half of our journey will be in uncharted waters.
Now, I start to worry about this afternoon.
And there's another headache. The barge will wait for Steve while he delivers his freight. But there's just 4 hours until the next high tide, when Ben will cast off, with or without him.
If he's not back on the boat by 8 o'clock tonight, Steve could get stranded there because we've got a time frame to get off.
With the barge, his truck, and hundreds of thousands of dollars at risk, all eyes are on the shore.
This is always the nervous part. It's not till that door opens and you really see the beach that you know what you're in for. That's where we're going to put it in, on that rocky shore there.
It's now down to Ben. Too close and he could run aground. Too far out and Steve risks getting bogged as he drives off.
Christ, that's beautiful.
With the barge secure, the next worry is the low-hanging engine underneath his $100,000 crane trailer.
My main concern is that bloody engine. Can't afford to stuff that at this point.
If it gets damaged, Steve won't be able to lift the precious solar equipment off his truck,
Looks like we're good to go.
costing him hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's just millimetres between delivery and disaster. Steve's hit trouble, metres from the end of his 5,000 kilometre Outback trek.
See how the ramp's just down in a bit of a hole there?
If he pushes on, Steve risks tearing a hole in his fuel tanks. To lower the sharp angle, Ben must push as close to land as he dares.
That got us in a lot more. The angle's definitely better.
While the angle's better, it's still perilously tight. If he can't get off now, Steve will have to abandon the delivery just metres from land. But suddenly, the rear of the truck is dangerously close to hitting the rocky beach as it drops off the ramp. If it does, the crane engine under his trailer could be smashed, ruining the whole operation.
We're just trying to lift the back of the trailer up on the timbers.
The crew need to raise the rear of the truck to give it more clearance.
I'll get you up on them timbers and we'll see how it goes.
Righto, mate. We'll see what we got.
The rear's still not high enough. Steve must be back on board in 3 hours. This is time he can't spare.
We haven't got anything else we can put under this wheel to keep it at that height, like rocks.
It's all hands to the pumps.
We'll chuck them under that back wheels, mate, so they stay up.
Finally, Steve's clear. After 10 days and thousands of kilometres, the finish line is just ahead. It should be a formality to unload the final container.
This has got to go.
But for this Outback trucker, nothing comes that easy.
Oh, this is not a very well set up site.
There's too many obstacles for Steve to manoeuvre his truck to the drop-off.
That out of the way and that fence, that's got to go.
There's just hours till the barge leaves. The next isn't for days.
Once I start screwing my steer tyres around, that's when I bog. I need absolute straight runs and like this.
He must be back on the barge in 2 hours' time or get stranded.
Trying to catch a tide, I've got to get this thing down, so we've got to do a bit of groundwork.
Steve must drop his container in precisely the right spot, right next to the solar power station's framework. He's got no choice but to remove anything in his way.
Just put it over near that tree there somewhere, mate.
The clock's ticking and the ground's soft, but it's now or never for Steve. He must be accurate to the centimetre.
About a foot off him.
High tide's almost here. There's only minutes remaining before the barge will leave.
See your centre holes there? I'm thinking about there. I think I've got to go back about 40 mil. I reckon that's good enough, mate. Yep, and they're their marks. We'll go to their marks.
Now the whole job rests on Steve's damaged crane trailer, almost smashed beyond repair just 4 days ago. If it doesn't work, he'll have come all this way for nothing.
Are you happy with that?
I've got a texture colour there. I'll be happy.
At long, long last, the massive job's finally done.
I can't thank you enough, mate. That's one on the ground, son. Thank you very much. You've got no idea how relieved I am right now.
And for the people of Ninyake, it's the start of a new chapter in their lives.
Only have power at night, 12 hours, sunset to sunrise, and that's it. The family's so happy, they're just so happy we're going to have power in the daytime.
It's been a monumental effort. Over 10 of the toughest days of his career, Steve's carried a $350,000 load further than ever before and survived whatever the dirt, the jungle and the ocean could throw at him. All to do what this Outback legend does best: get his freight in and his truck out.
It's a good feeling to get a job done, and you do get a bit of satisfaction. These remote little communities, standard of living goes up, everyone's happy.
You come anytime you want.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Later.
5,000 Ks, 2 boat rides, change their mind, chase the barge, catch it. The thing's on the ground and I'm a happy man.
Steve's tackling two of Australia's most notorious dirt roads, the Great Central and the Tanami. And taking on both back to back.
You can get electric ones of these. And you can get old like me and get unfit, so you're better off keeping the manual ones.
Going on the back, 2 trailer loads of house frames for a remote Aboriginal community in Central Australia. It's just the first of 3 separate loads Steve has to deliver on this epic run.
Take the middle road right straight through the guts to Alice Springs, unload this load, and then we're going to put a container of all things furniture, beds and cupboards and things, to take up the bloody Tanami Road, which is not without its challenges.
Making things even tougher, Steve's got just 9 days to do it, or he'll lose his next job.
So I reckon we got about 2,700 kilometres away. I'm going to Alice Springs, 1,000 k up the Tanami Road, and then 3,000, just under 3,000 k's back home. So that should be a good little run around the Outback. Right, we're fueled up. Everything looks all right. We're on the road with this load. We're going Outback trucking, anything can happen.
This early in a journey, Steve should be feeling good about his truck, but a recent repair is playing on his mind.
I had a bolt break in the belly tank in one of my trailer fuel tanks. I've replaced that. I just got to keep an eye on that. That fuel tank may have a bit of a leak in it, and I certainly don't want to run out of fuel out in the middle of the desert.
After 1,000 k's of smooth bitumen, Steve readies himself for the Great Central Road. He lets down his tyres for the battering ahead.
It gives me an easier ride on the corrugations and the bumps, and it does saves the truck.
The repair to Steve's fuel tank seems to be holding up, but under the bonnet, signs of an even bigger problem.
I seem to be developing an oil leak back here I don't like.
He needs to find the source of the problem. But he can't see oil flowing from anywhere.
Might be mess from where the boys service the engine.
Steve hopes it's just spillage from a recent oil change.
Yep.
He'll have to take the risk and get back on the road.
And I'm going to try for about 400 k's tonight. That'll get me out past Chuckarola.
Steve can't have any more delays if he wants to make the 9-day deadline for his next job. "100 k's up the Great Central Road, and Steve hits the end of the maintained track.
The road will get worse now. I start to worry about how well this freight will handle the Docker River end.
But it's not just hard on the freight. Constant corrugations are hard on the body. A bad road can have 2,000 ridges every kilometre. On a journey like Steve's, that adds up to millions of violent bumps, shaking truck and driver to their very core.
Rough as what we reckon it would be.
Then, through the dust, Steve spots something wrong.
Well, this strap's broken because the road's so badly corrugated. Everything's vibrating and shaking and rattling and rubbing together, bouncing up and down. That's my concern. People don't like to receive their freight broken. With a bit of luck, I'll get to the Olgas by dark.
He submits himself to more punishment.
Might be a long, slow afternoon doing the last couple of 100 k's. That's Outback trucking, I suppose. You get it good, then you get it bad.
Steve's now endured 400 kilometres of pounding corrugations. And neither the other side of the road nor a slower speed can offer any relief. The sun's almost gone. Driving in the dark on this road would be inviting disaster.
I'll just pull up and keep going in the morning.
Another strap has snapped.
Probably just something sharp up the top there for the corrugations vibrate.
The house frames are holding together, but Steve's schedule is falling apart.
I would have liked to have got to the bitumen tonight, but this road's too rough to go that quick.
He is now getting close to Alice Springs. Problems on the road have cost Steve his unload window.
Just means unloading and reloading will go into tomorrow.
He needs a fast turnaround in Alice to make up time.
I've got 4,000 to go to get home, and I think it's the 7th today, and I'm supposed to leave for Darwin on the 15th. I've got to keep an eye on the clock here. Well, there's the McDonnell Ranges. I'm just about to get into Alice Springs now and get into the yard. It's good to get here and hand it over to someone else.
But any relief is short-lived. Only 2 workers are available to unload Steve's truck. And worse still, they can't rush it.
These frames, once a lot of the restraints are off, the whole damn lot can come falling over. It has happened, so you can't push them. They've got to just take their time.
Steve is already half a day behind and is worried he'll lose more time on the next leg.
When I think about the Tanami, it's a notorious road. It's 1,000 kilometres of... It can be 1,000 of pain sometimes. It'd be nice to see it going faster, but you can't make things happen faster. This is going a lot slower than what I thought.
Try as he might, Steve's losing the race against the clock.
I can't make it go faster. And I wonder what's happening now. We might be going for smoko. I'm still 3 or 4 hours behind where I wanted to be today to get me up that bloody Tanami road as quick as I can.
He now has 6 days to cover 4,000 kilometres, with 2 more deliveries and a pickup.
That's good to see, 2 empty trailers. Now I can rack them and stack them, load the container and go.
The countdown is on. Inside the container, household furniture. For Steve, it's a red flag.
Furniture and a Tanami is definitely not a good combination.
If it's not packed properly, he'll be delivering a container of firewood.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you very much, too.
With one last push, Steve and Teeny are ready to roll out.
It's good to be on the road again.
It's a smooth start for the next leg. But it doesn't last long.
Well, this is it. We're on the Tanami proper now. And already I can feel those little corrugations pounding into me, just letting me know that we're here.
Steve is still nursing the bruises from the Great Central Road. Now it's the Tanami's turn to shake truck and trucker to their very core. On the horizon, another hazard looms.
I'm looking at that fire and I'm wondering whether it's going to be close to the road when I get there or not.
It's tinder dry out there, and bushfires can move faster than a truck. Steve's hoping the bolt he fixed on his fuel tank is holding. A flammable leak now would be a disaster.
If it's close to the road, when I get close to it, I will stop and see if I've got no leaking belly tanks or fuel tanks dribbling in place to check things like that.
But only a few kilometres down the road, Steve gets pulled over by a passing mate.
Yeah, roger, mate. I'm just coming up the top of a hill now, so I'll see you in a second. That's someone just come out of Balgo. They want me to take something back. What do you got, Pope?
20 of unleaded, but I forgot to give it to him.
Well, it goes sideways in the toolbox and it won't leak. This would be the worst freight. I'd rather someone gave me an atomic bomb to cart in there than petrol.
So what could possibly go wrong?
Just what Steve needs. more fuel in bushfire country.
Good drive. Don't change gears yet. Well, I'll be blowed. That's a grader up there. That's a sight for sore eyes. I like graders.
The grader has smoothed the section of road ahead.
How far are you done, mate? Yeah, house on the WA side, eh? All right, mate, no worries, thank you. I'll take whatever I can get. You have a nice day. Well, the news from the grader drop. Oh, I can't be out of here. That was a big rock in the middle of the windrow. Christ, that'll take out a diff. I would hit something under there. I just hope I haven't hurt nothing. It's just something I've got to deal with, so I'll stop and have a look up here.
Any serious damage, and the nearest mechanic is 600 kilometres away.
We got lucky with that rock. Everything's looking all right so far.
His luck needs to hold. A critical job waits for him back in Perth, 3,000 kilometres away, if he can make his deadline.
What it gets down to is if I don't get in on time, then, you know, I blow half a month's income next month. Simple as that.
Steve's already half a day behind schedule after unloading hassles in Alice Springs.
This is going a lot slower than what I thought.
Now he has to survive one of Australia's toughest roads, the Tanami track. The heat is blistering. The surface, truck busting. As Steve crosses the border into Western Australia, the track gets even worse.
And as you can see now, corrugations, and they're starting to get hold of me and shake us around, so...
It's punishing stuff, and Steve will need to endure 7 hours of this. After a long day on the Tanami, he's still behind schedule. He's hoping for a quick and easy unload.
I've had a win here in Balgo, the suggestion that they unload the whole container on site. That means 10 minutes. They'll lift the 2 items off, and I'm out of here. I'm going to Halls Creek.
Precious hours saved here means he could make it back to Perth in time for a lucrative job. Steve's just bought himself half a day.
Right, mate. Thank you. See you, Angie.
It's a moment worth celebrating.
There's my new hat. Beautiful. Another trip, another hat, another day.
Steve's on his way to Halls Creek to pick up his 3rd load, but still ahead, 300 kilometres of tough Tanami track.
The race against the clock starts again tomorrow. New load, new destination, and new race.
He's nearly done with the Tanami, but he still needs to conquer a series of long, steep climbs.
These are the hills going into Halls Creek. It's a challenge every time.
Steve's going to have to call on all of his truck's 18 gears.
You go from 6th or 7th or 8th gear down to 2nd or 3rd, and bang, there's a load straight on.
And draw on every ounce of juice from his 600 horsepower engine.
Put the power on, you got to grab a gear.
Producing blistering engine temperatures.
Up goes the turbo, 450 degrees Celsius.
After days of truck-smashing, dog-thumping dirt track, Steve finally gets relief on the smooth bitumen.
Yeah, this is the stuff we've been looking for a few days. 1,000-kilometre run up the Tanami makes you appreciate the stuff.
But the Tanami's not done with him yet.
I've got oil wetness inside this wheel hub, which indicates to me that I have a wheel seal failure or possibly a front wheel bearing. I can't afford a front wheel bearing failure.
If it is, there'll be a vital clue. Metal fragments in the oil.
There's no metal in that oil. That's good. That's good. If that wheel bearing was chopping itself to pieces, this oil would have shiny particles in it. I'll simply top up the oil on this hub and keep an eye on it.
In 4 days' time, Steve's booked for a big job in Perth, but he's still 3,000 kilometres away. He needs to get his next load, a mobile office, 2 mini diggers, and dozens of wooden pallets onto his truck quickly.
I need to fill up that space out to the gate.
It's a jigsaw, and the pieces need to fit.
Now, are we going to get another one in there? Good job, man, good job.
Steve senses trouble.
Just hold it, fellas.
A badly jammed pallet could destabilise the load. For a perfectionist, there's only one solution.
Fellas, we might have to just take them off and start from scratch. We can't...
A call from a client distracts him. And the loading crew take matters into their own hands. The forklift is bogged.
That's it, nicely done. That's lovely, fellas. Beautiful. Thank you, mate.
Steve knows this load will move. It needs to be well secured.
You do have to be serious about putting plenty of straps on it.
He's ready to hit the road. But there's another delay.
No one loves changing tyres.
It's a wrestling match. Each tyre weighs 50 kilograms. Time has beaten him. He'll have to rest up for the night.
Do you know what I'm thinking about right now? All the flavours cold beer comes in.
Next morning.
The glassware's clean, the washing's been done, I'm ready for the road.
Steve's got 3 days to cover 3,000 Ks if he's to make a big job back in Perth. From here on, he needs a smooth run. But the troublesome load is back to haunt him.
I don't like the way that's starting to move. It's actually moved out a fair way.
Just 50 kilometres in, and it's already shifting around. A danger to Steve and other drivers.
You can't be going down the road dropping pallets on people as you go past them, so...
He's forced to waste precious driving time retying his freight.
That front gate there yesterday when I left was in line with this, and it's all dropped across to that side. I've got to fix the problems as I go along, but it doesn't make it much good for getting there on time.
He may be on the smooth bitumen, but now Steve has to deal with traffic. And some of the biggest on the road.
Your whole driving attitude changes when you get down south. You've got to stay focused. And we don't want any bingles.
This 5.5 metre wide load eats up most of the bitumen.
It's a bit of a hold up, but
Steve's in the hands of the pilots, one behind and one a kilometre ahead. It's their job to guide passing traffic around safely. Clear communication is critical, but the airways are jammed.
I'll just drop back a bit now. We're going.
Last one here, 137, okay? Roger, copy the wheels, you should be right, sitting on the edge, thanks, man.
Are you talking to the southbounder?
To the southbounder, sorry, man.
Southbound behind the big one coming around then, yeah?
Sorry, northbounder to
The pilots called through the wrong truck.
I think so, mate. I just checked for the last one. There's a little LV stuck in between them. Roger. The second one back, mate. Yeah, Roger, you got about a K&a half, mate.
Right, mate, I'll get it cranked up.
Finally, Steve gets the chance to pass.
Those big ones take a bit of getting around, but we do it pretty safely with all talking to each other.
He's on the home stretch. It's been one of his biggest trips ever. He survived shifting loads.
I don't like the way that's starting to move.
Mechanical scares.
I may have a wheel seal failure.
And killer corrugations on two of the toughest roads in the world. It's the end of yet another epic chapter in a legendary career in the far north.
Well, there's the road down near Broome.
For Steve Grahame, the highway home is looking wrecked.
But I have had a phone call saying that they've got machines going out there and they're pouring a big heap of dirt in that. They hope within 48 hours to get that open. They are only temporary repairs. If there's big rain down there, it'll blow them out.
He's hauling oil pipes bound for Broome.
Fingers crossed I can slip through these puddles and slide home.
Steve's set.
All right, I'm going to get my driving shoes on and get out of here. That's it, I'm loaded, finally.
Ahead, a massive 4-day return run to Perth, where his injured four-legged mate Bella is patiently waiting.
I like to think that maybe I've got a good run in front of me today. I've got a low water level light showing. Bugger it. I need to pull up pretty quick and find out what's going on. It's serious, I don't know. I'll have to stop and find out. Quick, 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 I ought to shut it off. I've got a major hemorrhage under there. I don't know what's going on, but it's not good, whatever it is. Not good at all.
Still 3,600 kilometres from home.
It's a buggered water pump. Bugger it. Bugger it, bugger it, bugger it.
Steve's had one piece of luck. He's broken down right next to a truck stop.
Can't believe that's a nice place to live while I get a water pump sent out to me. I'll pull my road train in there, get the sat phone out, and get a water pump on the road. The amenities in this little breakdown area just... I've got everything. I've got picnic tables, I've got rubbish bins, I've got toilets. But all jokes aside, it's going to be an expensive repair.
Steve's staring at one lost day, possibly two, while he waits for a new water pump to be sent from Darwin, 400 kilometres away.
That's good, because my mate's going to pick it up, he's waiting for it, and he'll head on out.
It's a stoppage that could prove more expensive than just a truck repair bill.
He'll have it in Alice shortly. Not Alice, sorry, Catherine. Sorry, mate, I'm getting stressed.
He's heading west, where rain from a tropical cyclone has created an inland sea.
The customers who are involved with this all know that it's the wet season. They've all been given notice that I've got wet season problems.
The weather reports are predicting that conditions will get worse over the next few days.
No relief is expected from cyclonic rains that have cut highways in the state's northwest.
It's no time to be stranded.
Can't believe it.
Finally, after a long wait, a welcome sight.
It's the Outback, really. It's a north attitude or something. The way people just come out and help you when you're in the bush is just amazing. How are you, Dane? Good to see you, Cobber. Good to see you. You're broken down, you're on the side of the road, you're 100 kilometres out, and an hour after that red light coming on my dashboard, my gear's on the way.
Steve's still confident the mechanic can have this fixed quickly.
Yep, there she goes, straight out the bottom.
Running out?
Yep.
But the mechanic's not so sure.
It's coming out of the telltale. You put your hand on there, you'll feel it.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's unreal, isn't it? You're like...
Never seen it.
Never, nor have I. That's what I said, you know. I started having second thoughts, did I misdiagnose?
The only thing they're sure of is that this isn't going to be a quick fix.
He's got a slight hiccup now. He's got to pull the whole assembly out. Filter housing won't separate from the water pump, so the whole lot's going to come out, which might need me helping him, and that's scraping the bottom of the barrel a bit. I've got faith in him.
There we go.
You've done well, mate. You've done fucking well.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Next problem is detaching the water pump from its housing.
Just get that housing off.
Water pumps are an on-the-shelf part, but this housing behind it, the water pump bolts to, would be, you know, I don't even want to think about it. Might be Ring America.
He's not budging.
So we can't afford to do any damage to that whatsoever.
Gonna pop back in.
It's rubber. Whatever it is, it's rubber. It's gasket cement or something. It's rolled over the edge, mate. That water pump should just pull off the housing, but it just hasn't. There's a bit of rubber, a bit of gasket cement or something in there has gone over the edge of the sleeve and is hanging onto it.
Probably didn't have much chance of getting it off on there.
No.
When gentle force doesn't work, Steve has the idea of using straps to pull at both ends.
Let's see if we can get the thing to come apart.
But it's not budging.
Same as he's always been. No more. The only way to get it out is melt it out. So the jobs grow, and all these jobs grow. You can do without this. The costs that are involved in all of this really chew into, you know, what would have been a nice run home. We got a big problem pulling this apart. Damien's going to have to take it back to town where he's got oxy, and that hurts me. Might hurt him too. He's probably got a lot of other jobs to get to, but I'll sit here with the gear tonight, and hopefully he turns up in the morning. He can't leave me on the side of the road to die, so he is going to come back.
After a frustrating day and night at a standstill, Steve Grahame is crossing his fingers his mechanic has fixed his water pump problem.
He got the other bit apart last night with heat, so I'm confident today's going to be a better day. I was sitting out here last night thinking about it. You can do without this, but it'll go in the maintenance log and the truck will keep working. Another 500,000 Ks with this water pump, touch wood. So, here we go. Damien's just got here. It was spooking me a bit yesterday when he was encountering the problems pulling it apart. You know, he hadn't struck that before with one of those pumps, and nor had I hadn't seen it, so yeah, that worries you a bit. But looking at what he's brought out this morning and putting together, it all looks good now.
Have you ever played that game Tetris? This is about what I'm trying to get here.
It's always a bastard of a thing to get in there. It's always a bit scary when you're doing them at the roadside. You just can't turn around and grab consumables off the shelf. We're -1 gasket here. I'll just find the old breakfast cereal box, I think, make a gasket out of it. Well, there you go. That's it's a breakfast cereal packet gasket. That has got plenty of vitamins in it. Yeah, that's a good one. It's got love.
Well, that'll go forever.
Should be a good one. It's a Champion's breakfast tucker.
The cereal box gasket fits, but will it work?
Damien's just having his last final look. I'll give her a start. We'll try and bring her up to operating temperature and the thermostat's open. Hopefully there'll be no leaks.
This breakdown has robbed Steve of nearly 2 full driving days. He can't afford any more.
Fingers crossed, Outback trucking. I'll take her up to 1500. Sitting in here, it appears to have gone to plan. I'll go outside and have a look, see if anything's coming out the bottom. Hopefully it's good.
All dry and running like a dream.
Much appreciated, mate. We'll do that.
Not a problem, anytime.
Thanks, Damo. I've got to get on with my business of trucking now. I've got people looking for their freight, and of course the weather's still building. The weather hasn't gone away. My knee, it's saying rain, 2 kilometres.
Steve Grahame is heading into the remnants of a tropical cyclone.
It's like diving into the aquarium, really, isn't it?
There are storms up ahead, and this. Long sections of highway submerged underwater, stretching to the horizon. The signs are already ominous.
I'll be jumping puddles all the way into Broome now. It's just come out of this downpour. It's dumping on top of us. How are you, mate? Yeah, not bad. Where's all this water come from? This shower this afternoon? Unreal, eh?
Water on the road is one thing. Washouts, where the current has hollowed out under the road surface, are more worrying.
See, there's bits broken away there. That's why I'm just going steady. I'm in it. This is a slightly deeper hole. Just line up the middle of the road and idle through these ones. This is a bit deeper, definitely. And see, a bit just broke away underneath me there. The road's cracked away there. She's gone. The road base is soft. The road base is rotten underneath this road. Of course, as the flows get deeper, they get faster. And then you've got the old flotation problem. See, this one's a bit deep. You've got a big heap of tyres on your trailers, spares in the rack. Your toolboxes are like little boats. If you're empty on fuel, you've got huge flotation with fuel tanks and air tanks, and they'll just lift everything up, get your traction off the road, and if you've got a current running, you're gone. But that was deep enough to float a car, that one.
After being on the road for more than a month, Steve's only a couple of days from home.
There's plenty of water out here. This sort of water I don't rush through.
If he can get through.
There's a lot of it. They closed the road. I've got no choice to wait because my only other option would be to go 2,000 kilometres back to the Stewart Highway, 3,000 kilometres down to Port Augusta, and then 3,000 k's home. It would be an 8,000 kilometre detour.
And it's getting worse.
Looks a bit deeper than what I thought too, looking at that car. Just try and pick up that white line. I don't like getting too close to the edge. There's a fair bit of broken pavement down there. The road surface is gone on the right-hand side. And this bloke coming towards me is going to want his half of the road, but I want my half of the road. You got a copy in that northbound truck coming towards the road train.
But there's no radio contact.
I was trying to tell him to wait back there. You can see where the water's broken here, the pavement's gone. Oh, he's going way too far to the left. He needs to stop. And he just realised he's just stopped. As far as you can see, it's just water. Miles and miles of it. It's really humorous, really. I used to be a steering wheel attendant. Now I feel like I'm a sea captain.
6,000 kilometres behind the wheel, and Steve is finally through the worst.
Well, I reckon that's it. I reckon that's the job done. I'm on the home run.
Homeward bound to reunite with his faithful hound.
It's been interesting travelling out without my little four-legged mate, and I think she'll be pretty happy to hear that this truck's rolling down the hill. Let her out, Cat. Hello, doggy. Hey? Hey, what are you up to, little mutt? Hey? Hello, doggy. Oh, well. Looks like she wants to go trucking.
Outback legend Steve Grahame is hot.
It actually looks like a thunderstorm, but, you know, she's 38 today.
And bothered.
This country is unforgiving. You make mistakes, you pay.
He's taking on a mission so dangerous, it's littered with the corpses of the vehicles that have tried and failed before him.
People have perished recently in this sort of country.
Steve has concerns. His journey takes him from the sun-scorched middle of nowhere across a landscape as harsh as the hard-baked surface of Mars.
So I don't take any chances. No, my fuel's full, the water's full, and the tucker box is full.
Steve is picking up massive heavy machinery from a place so isolated they've been forced to hack a loading ramp out of the earth.
You don't get a flash concrete ramp out here. We're not at the railway station. We're in the middle of the desert.
It's like a mechanical war hospital. The machinery's been worked to death in brutal desert conditions.
Can't get power to it.
Steve's job is to get the Outback casualties back to civilization for extensive repairs.
This is a mate's trailer I'm taking back for him as a favour.
The injured beast spews out oil as it's being rescued, all over the trailer that belongs to Steve's mate.
Sorry about the oil, man, but nothing I can do about that. It's hemorrhage, that bad.
Where's the hemorrhage?
That pump there. Yeah, it's in that pump. Right in the back of that seal.
The seal at the back of the pump, righto. This is the trailer that he asked me to bring back. Jesus Christ, just backfires on you.
Steve faces a highly dangerous journey ahead, and with the added drama, he's about to boil over.
He said, oh, mate, do us a favour and load my trailer back, will you? Well, I've loaded his trailer back. I've loaded it with a broken-down machine and covered it in oil. And then he'll be upset, and I'd rather just have nothing to do with it. And there's the fitter standing there laughing like it's funny. It's not funny to me. It's a nightmare.
With the clock ticking, the road crew are struggling to get Steve's rig loaded. The parched earth loading ramp has collapsed, pulling up 3 feet short of his trailer.
I could get a bucket load and tip it behind it.
Look, you can if you like, just don't smash my tail lights. Yeah, look, you won't hurt anything if you trickle it in.
They have no choice, ramming the gap with old tyres and loose soil, and Steve's not happy.
That's probably smashed the tail lights.
It's a rough as guts loading ramp, but it might just work. It's messy, but it gets the job done. Steve's dog Bella helps hitch the trailers. She's an experienced Outback trucker.
She barks. She gives me a certain bark when I'm hooked up. She's my guide dog. Good girl. Thank you.
In this remote outpost, it's been a trial getting loaded. But the real danger lies ahead, with Steve carrying his giant triple trailer across over 2,000 kilometres through the blistering hot landscape of Australia's central desert.
There's a few people lost their lives on this road, actually. Young fella went to turn his truck around, got bogged. Thought he'd walk back to town. He wasn't far out of town. He didn't make it. He died.
With his life at stake, Steve's not taking any chances.
You don't want to have any breakdowns. You don't want to have any stuff-ups out there. You leave here with full water tanks, full fuel tanks.
He's fully prepared. With decades of experience, if anyone can arrive alive, it's Steve Grahame.
I got this little bit of bitumen here, then I'm into it. You know, rarely do you get across this 1,000+ kilometres of dirt without some issues happening somewhere.
Steve barely gets his giant load up to speed when the tarmac disappears, torn up by road workers.
What I've done is I've asked for permission to go on the formation, which is the centre.
You'll be right to get straight through, all right?
Righto, mate, no worries. Thanks for that. I'll do it, eh? Well, I'm going to have the good road in the middle.
The roadworks are a big problem for Steve so early in the journey. If something goes wrong, reversing his 53.5 metre triple trailer road train will be impossible.
You got no chance in the world of backing a triple up 3 or 4 kilometres to get out of there. You're stuck. This is what I didn't want, is a machine parked in the middle of the road, and I'm up on a very high bit where I can't get across. But I have got an escape route here. This side's not a bad drop. So there you go, that was interesting.
For Steve, it's out of the frying pan and into the fire.
It's hard to find a bit that you like along here.
He faces a bone-rattling 2,400 kilometre journey on some of the worst corrugated roads in the country.
When I was 8, I saw a big truck like this drive past the gate, and I dreamt when I grew up I'd drive one, but it didn't have corrugations in the dream. They just flog you, they break your gear, they flog you. This is just ridiculous.
Steve's journey takes him right through the dead heart of Australia on a road that's no stranger to taking lives.
I wouldn't like to be walking around out there to be 40-something degrees. She's hard and she's dry. I've got to keep the window up, there's that much dust out there.
A bad day gets worse. Out of the blue, a choking desert sandstorm.
And it's as hot as hell, and it's blowing dust. It's all dust and heat now. It's a bit of a struggle, but...
Visibility is near zero, and Steve is questioning if it's safe to push on.
I might have to give this away, sir. Unbelievable. We're now in the dead heart of Australia.
In this deadly environment, small problems can escalate into life-threatening emergencies.
You don't treat this place lightly. You don't get smart with it. It'll slap you down pretty quick. You know, we've got the Great Victoria Desert in front of us and 1,000+ kilometres of empty country. There's not a lot out here. Right there, there's people that didn't make it. There's, you know, how would you like to be in that? That's the end of that car. Just up here once, I ran out of wheel bearings. I was sitting on the side of the road down here for 4 days. I think 2 other vehicles came along in the 4 days. From what I can see of it, the load looks all right, but I'll pull up here and check it. A few things have come loose here and there, but you expect that.
In the scorching heat, just getting out of his truck is a risky move.
People have got no idea how quick they're drying out. It's a dry, dry place. It's unbelievably dry. So the moisture is just quietly leaching out of you.
High temperatures and a heavy load put Steve's engine under strain.
The old truck's working hard up this hill. It's been a pretty low gear going through here. It's a bit of a struggle. And of course, we're in this real sandy stuff. I've got my power divider lock engaged, which means both my axles are driving.
Conditions are so bad, even a passing vehicle becomes a serious threat.
You've got to give them room. I'm losing traction, and you can get bogged here. This is gutless sand here. Get going, mate. I've got to get over there. Shit, I could get bogged here.
Daybreak, and Steve makes an early start, seeing the positives of his trucking lifestyle.
It's a pretty pleasant outlook. Nice start to the day. Most people don't have an office like this, do they, Billy? Right, that's it. It's time to go to work. Yesterday was brutally hot, and today's a complete change. An amazing night last night. Here I am in the desert, and I was worried about drowning. It went off around me. It's better than TV. One strike must have been pretty close because the CV wireless started scrolling around and all the channels were changing like mad. And the lightning started to fire off behind me, and it was amazing watching it. It's just another big show of force from good old Mother Nature.
10 kilometres down the road, and Steve sees the results of last night's entertainment.
Glad I didn't camp here. Look, there's a tree there where I reckon the lightning's hit it and blown it to smithereens. Once a fire goes through the country like that, it's a terrible, terrible, bleak-looking landscape. And there's no fire brigade. Someone's not going to come and put it out. It's going to burn for months and for hundreds of kilometres.
It looks like the storm isn't over. On the horizon, a threatening cloud formation.
I don't like the look of that at all.
Steve presses on, and the dark grey skies unleash.
Now it's raining. It's nuts. It doesn't rain here sometimes for years. And, you know, here I am. I've got to get a raincoat out. I mean, people should pay me to break droughts. I just can't believe I'm in the middle of the desert. It's the hottest, hardest time of the year, and I've driven into a rainstorm. All right, let's have a look at this weather map. Got it. It's forecasting thunderstorms for today. Let's have a look at the radar. Oh my God, have a look at that lot. There we are, right in the middle of that circle. The rest of the country is pretty well dry, and right where I am, I'm just on the edge of that lot, and that's where I'm going, right through it. That's me, straight through all this lot. Unbelievable.
There is no other route to Perth. With a massive 1,200 kilometres still ahead, Steve has no choice but to push on. Steve reaches the halfway mark on Australia's longest shortcut, the Great Central Road. It's ferociously rough, and for Steve, it's riddled with bad memories.
Well, when you travel any road, there's always memories associated with it. And this next bend up here is where Teeny died from the poison bait. She's buried just up here.
Just 3 years ago, Steve's dog Teeny died tragically on this road when she ate the toxic bait used to rid the outback of feral pests. Now, Steve's new dog Bella is riding shotgun.
Bella wants to get out and have a look here. She knows we're going to stop here. I'm a bit further out of town and the danger of baits seems less. Now it's blowing a gale up here. I can't keep up with this weather. Anyway, we'll check the gear. I don't believe that. That shits me. More dramas. This trailer's starting to bug me.
Steve's transporting a trailer as a favour for a friend, but it's plagued with problems.
Me dead, I haven't got time to bloody fix people's gear for them. This is bullshit. I have to shut the truck off.
Steve's chaotic journey has just got tougher.
And another shower in mud and shit. In, out, in, out. You got 3 axles running like that. They've all got to run in line. And the torque rod between the front axle and the middle axle's gone. So this middle axle's trying to run back like that, tear the spring pack out, and drop everything on the road.
Steve prides himself being prepared for every scenario if his own gear fails.
The gear that's in here is a bit lighter duty than what I'm used to using.
But on his mate's trailer, there's no spares.
I haven't got a torque rod bolt here. It's starting to bug me, this.
But the Outback magician has the answer.
I'm just going to put a chain on that torque rod and chain it back to the other axle where it's supposed to be. That'll stop the axle flopping around and it'll get me home. Yeah, bastard. Hammer knife. Tie this thing up. Out of the way so it's not dragging on the ground. My grandmother taught me this knot.
Fix one problem and another appears.
And when I saw the other one was broken, I had a look at these.
And the bad news keeps coming.
There could be more of them ready to drop off. You play those games on the bitumen, but not out here with constant corrugations. You're just asking for trouble.
Steve is forced to spend precious time checking every nut and bolt.
I don't like doing other people's maintenance for them. Is that a car coming? Bella's watching the road, but I've got to keep an eye on her because I'm under here, and if a car comes past at 100 kilometres an hour, come here.
Suddenly, Bella is behaving strangely.
She hasn't picked up a bait, has she? What is that? She's eating something there.
With the nearest vet hundreds of kilometres away, all Steve can do is give Bella some water and wait.
She's a good watchdog. She's turned into a bit of a bush dog. Oh, she looks like she's settled down. She might have got rid of it. Righto, Belly. Let's see how you go, eh? You right? Come on. You feel better? OK, come on, we'll have a go. You tell me if you're going to be sick, all right? I've just done a temporary repair there. It should be right for the dirt. So.
Still shaken from nearly losing Bella, Steve has to get back in the game.
Oh, well, we'll get on with it and see how we go. Looks like dog's all right. After losing Teeny, I really worry when I start seeing what could be the first symptoms of it. I don't want that to happen again.
The road deteriorates, spelling trouble for Steve's damaged trailer.
The mine driveway up here is when it's really going to go bad. We're in about 5 or 6 kilometres, and that's when the real pain's going to start. This is where I worry about, you know, light torque rod bolts now that we're down to this pounding hard yakka. There I was averaging 65, 70 kilometres an hour. Now I'm doing 25, and that's a bit quick. I'll have to back it off and walk it through. There's a bit of radio chatter going on now. It sounds like there's a couple of big, heavy loads coming towards me going out to the mine.
Suddenly, Steve has a lot of company on the isolated Outback road.
They got 2 5.5 metre wide bulldozers, heavy. I just missed that with a shaking, mate. What do you want me to do when I get to wherever?
The driver tells Steve to pass the bulldozers on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, Roger, I'll go through them. All right, mate, no worries. They've asked me to pass them on the right-hand side.
In the heat and dust, it's a dangerous move.
People tend to drive on the wrong side of the road for wind and dust-blowing reasons.
Just as Steve begins to overtake, a third fully loaded truck appears from nowhere.
Have you got an eastbounder coming up behind the 5.5 metre loads heading towards me? We're in the hands of traffic pilots.
The eastbounder's sitting back behind the dozers at the moment, mate, waiting for the triple to come through.
With vehicles this big, a mistake could cause a catastrophe.
And they've asked him to hold back and let me westbound get past them on this incorrect side of the road.
Steve is given the right of way.
Big machines, aren't they? At the end of the day, we've all got 100 tonne hanging off the end of the steering wheel.
A win for Steve. And the big mining machines have made the road a little friendlier.
There is a plus in this. They've definitely rolled the road down a bit, and I've got more chance of getting this trailer out the other end in one piece than what I had earlier.
And the good news doesn't stop there.
This is it. This is the bitumen. You know, you feel happy each time you get a load across this road. Oh, gee, this stuff feels nice. It's nice to see already. It's quieter, it's smoother. I can see why people don't want to go out doing what I do.
Steve's on the home run, with just under 1,000 kilometres left to his front gate.
You don't want to get complacent just because you've got on the bitumen road. You've still got to remember that you've got a lot of freight on the back. So just don't relax your guard.
As he gets closer to his destination.
Now I've got to watch my truck driving here. I'm getting very close to the road train terminal.
Strict road rules force Steve to shrink his road train from 53.5 metres to 19 metres.
So it's a big game of leapfrog. You start off with a triple road train going down like the road like that and end up taking them home one at a time. I'll leave this trailer here now. A contractor will take it to Perth for me tonight. Well, we're going to be sharing the road with a lot of people now. There's traffic jams and your school zones and traffic lights and variable speed zones. It's a different kettle of fish, this business. I'm starting to feel closed in now. I'd rather make a decision about whether I've got a duck, a camel or a kangaroo than whether I'm going to get through these lights or not. Fairly full on in its own way, this business. It's all, yes, we're through there. I'm in the home street now.
Steve finally makes it home with a healthy co-pilot.
Hey, Belle, you recognise this road, don't you? I think the best part of the journey is always coming in the front gate.
And to make it even sweeter, 2 of his grandkids are there to greet him.
Are you driving?
2-year-old Jethro.
How are we going to turn this one on?
And 5-year-old Ethan are here to get lessons from a trucking master. It's been a 2,400-kilometre haul, battling chaotic weather, choking dust storms and roads that have taken the lives of many a driver. His biggest headache is about to leave him.
Bye, trailer. Glad to see that go out the gate.